This is a podcast about music, so let's talk music. On this program, we talk everything music. Each week, I interview an established or up-and-coming artist in hopes of getting just a little glimpse into their world and process, and to see if I can find out just what makes them tick. Emily Kinney is multi-talented. She's an accomplished and working actress who also is pursuing a music career simultaneously. She's not just a singer, but she's a writer who's constantly figuring out what to say and how to say it in a song. Like most, I became aware of Emily through her brilliant portrayal of the character Beth in the series The Walking Dead. I don't want to geek out here, but I'm kind of a fan. And occasionally, in the midst of all that carnage, her character would just break out and sing beautifully. And through that, she's developed a musical career. She's made a couple of records. She's got a new one out called Oh Jonathan. And I talked with her in her hotel as she was preparing for an extended tour about both acting and music and how the two mix.
I mean, sometimes I don't think I'm totally conscious of it, but acting has allowed me to a lot of times travel to new places, meet a whole new group of people, which then becomes new stories and new things to write about, new things to tell. I mean, I think if you listen really closely to the lyrics, there is quite a lot of geography in my lyrics, and you can tell, you know, like this new album, there's a lot talking about LA and California and driving, right. You know, and then in my old stuff, there's a lot about walking and, of course, being in New York City. And my time in Atlanta, there's a song called Last Chance. It's about like, oh, the end of the world. Well, obviously, I was like in a show that was all about the end of the world. And so I think acting really,
right?
Yeah, and like it's really, you know, there are times when it's like, well, what is there to write about, or what questions do I have? And then I get a new job and I'm suddenly in a whole new world, you know. Now with this show, I'm working in Albuquerque, which is someplace I haven't spent a lot of time in, but now I'm in Albuquerque a lot, you know.
Talk about how you kind of more formally concentrated on lyrics.
Yeah, well, every song is different, like comes to me different ways. Sometimes I write a song in an afternoon. Sometimes I am writing it for months. It's like I have a phrase in my head that I can't kind of, that is something exactly how I wanted to say it. And so I either write it down or I just kind of like have it in my head and it's bouncing around, and then I'm slowly sort of formulating almost like a paper or something, like a thesis of a paper.
You said in an interview, and I thought this was really interesting, you said songwriting is finding out what you want to say and then figuring out how to say it.
I guess so. I mean, I do feel like sometimes the ideas just like come to me. It is like a gut reaction, or a phrase comes up and that's just sort of like, oh, that's exactly how I wanted to say it. And then it does become a little bit more like a puzzle to me. Like, how do I prove that statement? And then I come up with, you know, like to support that. Or like even in Mermaid Song, it's like there's this sort of thing of like, oh, I'm a mermaid, and then like now water and like all the imagery, what are all the, you know, water words, what are the things that have to do with being a mermaid, swimming, I'm gonna swim away while you're sleeping. Like now I'm sort of living in that world and I sort of stick to that.
I am a mermaid that you dreamt, swimming away while you slept. 4th of July, kegs of beer, baby, we had a nice time, but I don't really fit in here.
I know that you did some Broadway work.
Yes.
Spring Awakening, August Osage County. When you were young, did you pursue musical theater?
I mean, at first I fell into it, and then yeah, I did pursue it. I mean, I think as a kid, I was just looking for any opportunity to perform and do music and do acting. So I grew up in Nebraska, in a very small town, so it was one of those small towns where you did everything. You know, I was on dance team, but then I was also on cross country, and then I was in one acts. But in particular, I was definitely always looking for the acting and music stuff. So musical theater was something I pursued and really loved to do.
I am a mermaid that you dreamt, swimming away while you slept. 4th of July, kegs of beer, baby. We had a nice time, but I can't really breathe up here.
In a state.
You've written and poetry. Were you always sort of driven to make records and songs?
I was always writing songs. Like, I remember writing songs in high school and singing them for my mom. But I don't know that I had a lot of like confidence, I guess, in them. It was more like, this is fun to do. When I would sing at talent shows, I would always sing someone else's songs. When I was in college, I would make up songs we would have like these college talent shows, and I would sing the songs that I wrote. And then even when I first moved to New York, I was pursuing, as far as a professional career,
You had to audition
pursuing
a song,
acting.
right?
Yeah, I was auditioning, and I would audition with, other people's songs and stuff. And then, I started singing backup for a lot of bands, and through that met musician friends who would say, maybe I'd be like, oh, I wrote a song, you want to hear it? And it was actually my friends that gave me the confidence that would say, like, your songs are good.
What can I do for you, honey? Buy you a coffee, lend you some money, walk you to Times Square, walk to the moon. What can I? 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 What can I do?
Emily's musical career coincides with her ability to sing on the show, which she did brilliant.
I mean, it was just like, oh, now your character's going to sing on the show. It was sort of like, I definitely felt more motivated to like anything I had been sort of waiting on. I had a bunch of songs I had been writing for years, and it was like, okay, then the next time I have a break, I'm going to go ahead and get those recorded and be
that's
ready.
So organic and
yeah, it was
almost.
like there is going to be some kind of audience curious, and I do know that my music, it's not necessarily like super top or like necessarily like what you hear on the radio, but I knew that there would be people checking it out, and I might catch some people who were genuinely into my kind of lyrics or into my kind of vibe.
You were a beloved character
Yeah.
in a huge show, and so you have an audience there, and I'm wondering about how you deal with presenting your music authentically, as you said, as yourself.
Every character I play, I do feel like there's definitely an element of myself and an element of truth in the character. I mean, obviously, I feel like we all have like a huge range of people that we are. You think about who you are when you're with your parents or with your friends or whatever. And so different characters, I always do think there's an element of myself in every character I play. So I do think there's a lot about Beth and I that were similar. But you're right that sometimes it is like for example, I was always playing younger than I am, and so I remember someone listening to my EP back in 2011 when I was 25 at the time, or 26, playing a 16-year-old or something on TV. And they said, well, your music isn't appropriate, because some of the songs were like Morning Sex is for Lovers or something. Well, now it is appropriate for, I feel, a woman living in New York City. I do feel that my music does work with, like, a lot of the super fans of Beth are, there are a lot of like teenage girls, and because that was the character that they could relate to in the show. For whatever reason, certain women really attached to Beth, and I think some of those same people are interested in the kind of lyrics I write.
Let's talk about some of the records. First thing is there's a bunch of songs that you write. I like to sort of classify them as like she's not your girlfriend type of songs. One is a song called Julie,
yes,
which I think was on your first record.
Yes.
And tell me about that. I mean, first of all, it was an EP which you then expanded. You added some tracks and made it to a record.
I think originally, even though it was quite long to be an EP, I was thinking to myself, well, I have more songs. This is like a sampling.
Let go of Julie. hand. Let go, it's time to be my man. Let go of Julie and kiss my face. She is standing in my place.
You know, like in my mind I was thinking like, well, maybe I would get like a record deal or something. So these are some of the songs that I've been writing, and I thought of it more as like a not complete package, and I was thinking of it more as like, yeah.
So take home Julie, we'll be drinking it too. Take home Julie, we got catching up to do. Just take home Julie, take up my heart. I'm ready to start. No, I'm not normally the jealous type, but I imagined it'd be you and me this time. And I bet Julie's really smart. Oh, you keep saying she's so cool, but if you pick her over me, you're just a fool.
Mess.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fabulous. And there's a lyric that says, when you leave, you always leave a little mess behind.
Yeah.
When you leave, you always leave a little mess behind. When you leave, you always leave a little mess.
That was a situation where I mean, literally, there would be, you know how like, I tend to be like, oh, well, I might be hanging out with this guy. I'm gonna like clean my apartment up and like get it nice. And then the person leaves, and now I feel sort of not completely satisfied, and it smells like cigarettes, and there's like, now everything's messed up. And so it's like I spent all this time to make myself better for this person, and then they just kind of left me with more to do. And it's like very frustrating.
Ah, humanity. It begins to escalate for me. That's the thing. I'm seeing a kind of
I get more and more frustrated dating.
The producer, Ben Greenspan. So, did you collaborate on all these songs? Are they or?
I mean, yeah, I collaborated with him. Most of them I wrote, well, all of them I wrote on my own and then brought them to him. So I was doing writing sessions, but all of the songs on this album that we ended up using were ones I wrote on my own.
You're calling them your tour, the Same Mistakes Tour, and I was wondering it's another one of your songs that's a very pointed statement.
I don't know. I think there is something, like, in the song, I take a while to get to the romantic relationship part. If you really listen in, it's like the beginning is sort of like, let me explain myself, and like I keep like although I've had a lot of like fun, cool things, I still feel like the same person.
You're going on a pretty extensive tour.
Yeah.
Is this tell me how you're going to present it.
Yeah.
Is it a band, or how are you going to do it?
Yep, I'll have a band. Now, it will sound different than the record because live, I tried all these songs live. I did just one kind of very small show in LA because I was like, wow, a lot of these songs I haven't played live. And I tried it with tracks because there's so much cool like synth and sampling, and I was like, how do I incorporate this? But ultimately, we would do that, and I'd come back and go, no, this doesn't work for me, because I feel like with live shows, I like real instruments, and so I'm almost creating different arrangements for the songs.
I find that tracks sometimes help energize things.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with tracks. It's just, and I probably will use some of the looping stuff to get those sounds and to sort of intro things, but I'm playing still pretty small rooms. And I think, I do well in like small intimate settings, and I don't want it to become like a big show that's far away. It's like, at least, I mean, because it's just not going to work in small rooms, I don't think.
How does it feel to be a loser?
With Loser, at the moment that I was writing that song, I was frustrated with not only men that I had been dating, but also had been working with in the music industry. But when you are dating someone, they sort of give you all their insecurities. Oh, I'm afraid with guys, they're always afraid. Every guy is afraid they're losing their hair. Every guy is afraid that they're you get all their secrets. And I feel like the thing is going like, wait, I don't want you, and here's the reasons why. Let me just pick at all of your insecurities and your scabs. This is why. All the things you said you don't like about yourself, I don't like them either, and I don't want you now. And so it's a mean, and it's not meant to be, like I've had people be like, oh, this is so mean, why would you share this? Well, because like, not every thought I have in my head is like perfectly kind and nice. It's not like I'm going around saying mean things to people.
When everyone's having fun, drunk at the bar, how does it feel to be an old man? Lines running down your face, no matter how.
Oh,
what
I'm
about
doing
your
a
side project?
Side project.
Yeah. What's the name of the?
It's called The Sweetheart Deal.
The Sweetheart Deal. Paul McDonald.
Paul McDonald is the other half, and it's fun because I love like country Americana music, even though I don't make that kind. I mean, the music I'm making is much more poppy, but I love that kind of music, and so this album of material, we're just releasing 2 singles like in the fall. He's gonna open for me, so he just released a solo album as well, and I think that's one reason that we bonded a little bit. We were both sort of like had these solo albums coming out, and so we'd, talk and kind of stress out, commiserate about like things we were stressed out about.
Next stage, you're gonna get a dog.
Yeah, so we and then we'd be like, oh, you know how music is just fun. Like, and then we started doing this for fun. Like at Christmas we were like, let's make the website. Like we did it all ourselves just for fun, and it's nice to remember that music is fun.
That's a relief. We'll drink up our grief and pine for summer, and we'll buy a beard, a shotgun, and we'll lay in the lawn, and we'll be good.
Thank you, Emily Kinney, for coming and talking to me. I was a big fan of yours from The Walking Dead. And after listening to you, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of your music as well. Oh, Jonathan is a great record. And I'm gonna get out there and check out the Same Mistakes tour, which is on the road right now as we speak. You've been listening to In a State Podcast. This is Porter Block, your host. I'm a singer-songwriter. You can listen to my music on iTunes or Spotify, any other streaming service that you use. I want to thank you for listening to this program. And if you want to see or hear more, go to inastatepodcast.com for additional content.